I am very clearly not the target audience of Wicked for good. I am not a Wicked fan, I've never touched the original Frank Baum novels, and to get to the more embarrassing part, I had never actually seen The Wizard of Oz until only a few days ago. I have a very vivid memory of when I was a kid looking into the TV room and seeing the green skin, the hooked nose, and the shrieking laughter, and that was more than enough for me to stay away from Oz as much as possible. So the fact that Wicked for Good finally forced me to watch one of the most beloved films ever made is, yeah, honestly hilarious. But it also speaks to the problem at the heart of this film. Unlike the first film as much, For Good assumes you've already done your homework, and if you haven't, that's just too bad. That approach isn't automatically bad. Marvel have been doing it for a decade and a half to pretty good success, but the difference is when the good Marvel films lean on prior knowledge, it still gives you something fun in the moment. Wicked for Good feels like the lower end of Marvel quality. Plot points shuffled in because they need to happen, characters doing stupid things because the universe demands it, and a constant sense of feeling like you're missing something. And the funny thing for me is that yes, I did miss something. It's called The Wizard of Oz, a film that is almost 100 years old and somehow looks and feels fresher than this. But to be fair, let me reiterate, I am not the intended demographic. My relationship to Oz is practically non-existent, and for people who are invested, or for younger audiences, there is genuinely valuable stuff here. The film's central message, don't blindly trust those in power, question the narratives you're given, couldn't be more relevant. It's a great lesson for kids, and honestly, a lot of adults too. Based on message alone, I understand why people would want to take their families to see this. The problem is, well, everything else. There are brief flashes of intelligence, a character moment here, a clever choice there, but surrounding those moments is pure, unfiltered stupidity. Every cardinal sin of blockbuster storytelling is on display. Characters suddenly forget they have powers if using them would create a logical solution. Characters believe the most obvious lies. No one seems capable of thinking more than 2 steps ahead. It's like watching characters fail QuickTime events on purpose. And the biggest structural issue is that the film constantly feels hamstrung. It wants to be its own story, but it also has to bend itself into the shape of the original Oz narrative. Whenever it tries to connect the dots, logic goes out the window. Characters turn dumb, motivations twist, and scenes happen purely because they have to stay in line with the original film. But whenever the film steps away from that shadow, when it focuses on new ideas, different corners of Oz, or the relationship between Elphaba and Glinda, it suddenly becomes more engaging, more emotional, and honestly, a lot better. Spoilers ahead briefly, skip to here if you want to avoid them, but the clearest example of this issue is the big emotional duet between Glinda and Elphaba about how knowing each other made them better people. It's a beautiful sentiment, a lovely idea, and completely undercut by the fact that Elphaba has literally just thrown Dorothy into a cellar and locked her in there moments earlier. Why? Well, because the character did that in the original film, so she has to do that here. It's not exactly I've grown as a person behaviour. Now, on to performances. The good news is that Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are genuinely excellent. They have strong chemistry, they deliver emotional intensity where it counts, and whenever the film focuses solely on them, it actually works. Nothing in the film comes close to being as entertaining as their press tour chaos, but their performances are still very solid. Jeff Goldblum is, perfectly cast. Whoever had the idea of casting him as the wizard deserves a raise. He basically shows up, does Goldblum noises, gestures vaguely, and it becomes the Wizard of Oz through sheer Goldblum energy alone. It's phenomenal. And Michelle Yeoh, look, I like Michelle Yeoh, how can you not? But she is awful in this. Easily her weakest performance in years. She feels disconnected, flat, and like she wandered onto the wrong set. Thankfully, she's barely in the film, because every time she showed up, the film got worse. As for the rest of the cast, they exist. It's the classic musical fare. You've got the handsome dude, the ugly dude who is still suspiciously attractive because Hollywood, and the ensemble of people who sing well, dance well, and then vanish from memory 5 minutes later. The music, unfortunately, doesn't help. None of the songs stuck with me. Not one. Maybe it's unfair to compare them to some of the most iconic songs of the last century, but having just watched The Wizard of Oz, you can't help but notice how unmemorable these tracks are. CGI is also a mixed bag. Some effects look perfectly fine. Others look like they'd be good for a video game. The CG animals look good, but because the entire world feels digital, nothing ever looks real. That digital flatness extends to the cinematography. Most shots are functional, but uninspired, with a few great shots sprinkled in. There's one sequence filmed at an actual outdoor location. No green screens, no artificial sky, and it looks fantastic. Then we return to Oz and it suddenly feels like I'm back in a video game. And that, ultimately, is where the film loses me. The original Wizard of Oz is bursting with joy, whimsy, and theatricality. It embraces its fairy tale weirdness. Wicked for Good is the exact opposite. Self-serious, somber, and tonally muddy. When those worlds collide, only one of them feels like it belongs in Oz, and it's not the new one. But those are just my thoughts. Now I want to hear yours. Have you seen Wicked for Good? What did you think of it? Let me know, and I'll see you all in the next one.